We're jumping into the fourth quarter of Crossover Thursday. Locked on Broncos, Locked on Raiders. We're going to be talking about some keys to victory. Can Bo Nix become the first Denver Broncos quarterback to win 3 straight games as a rookie? Or are the Raiders, are they going to win their 9th straight game against the Broncos? It's one of those talking points that came up a lot over the offseason as everybody's doing their offseason victory laps. Every team's undefeated, right? The Raiders undefeated against the Broncos since late in 2019. It's been a rough streak against this team for the Broncos. So in order for the Raiders to get to their 9th straight win against Denver, what's got to happen?
Well, I'll start with the offense. Offensively, they've got to find out their identity. They've got to establish who they're going to be. Again, without Devontae Adams, they've got other guys there. They've got Jacoby Myers, who's a really good wide receiver. Brock Bowers is a hotshot rookie. How are you going to get those guys involved? How are you going to get them to be a focal point of the offense? And what kind of version of the run game are we going to see, right? There has to be, for this Luke Getsy offense to work. And I'm still not 100% convinced that Luke Getsy's offense is going to work, right? Let me be 100% honest with that. The jury's still out on Luke Getsy as an OC and a play caller. Can he be that guy? But I do know for this offense to go, the run game has to be there. It has to be present. Last week, it was the best version of it at 152 yards on 29 carries. That's how the Raiders want to butter their bread. They want to be able to have that run game. So can they do that? And that allows Gardner Minshew to not feel like the game is on him and he's got to do everything, right? You want him to have less than 30 passes in a game if possible. And so he had that last week against Cleveland. The Raiders found a way to win. Can they go back to the run game? Have they figured it out? Like what works for them? That's what we want to see. Is it something that they can sustain, or was that a one-off thing? So far, this Raiders season has been it's been like you're at the roller coaster, or you're on the amusement park, right? It's just a big roller coaster ride. They can't be that. They've got to be steady Eddie. Who can they, rely on? Who can they, say that, okay, this is how this team is going to go? That's the biggest question offensively, is who can they be consistently, and can they find that success on a Sunday against the Denver Broncos defense that's really good and really stout up front that can get to the quarterback? Can that offensive line, can they protect Minshew? Can they open up some holes in the running game? That's going to be one of the big keys. Can they find that consistent offense? Defensively, they got to make life miserable for Bo Nix. They've got, as you mentioned, he hasn't been sacked since the Steelers game. That's quite a while. They've got to get familiar with Bo Nix. He's a rookie. They've got to introduce themselves, whether it's Max Crosby or not. Christian Wilkins, Tyree Wilson, Janarius Robinson. He's got to show Charles Snowden, these guys. And I know everyone's not a household name, but they've got to make themselves a household name. They've got to get to the quarterback. They've got to get to that win rate. Obviously the Broncos and the Raiders are both really good at that. They've got to get back to that. If they can do that and show that pressure that they've been doing, pretty much all season long, then it makes, the corner's job a little bit easier. It makes the safety's job a little bit easier. Jacorian Bennett, he's a name to watch. He's not Pat Surtain, but he's playing really good ball at the cornerback position. Really a lot of pass breakups on third down as well. Something to definitely pay attention to. He's number 0. You can't miss him. The no-fly zone, according to his jersey number. So we'll see if he's able to have that success out there. He's playing with a lot of confidence. Jack Jones on the other side, he's a playmaker. I always say that the Raiders need to come up with a couple turnovers just to give their offense a shorter field. I think that kind of goes without saying, but they've got to be able to slow down the run. Not allow that 100-yard rusher or combined rushing, whatever the case may be. They've got to be able to, consistently slow that down. And last week was the first time they've done that. So there's a lot of questions with this team offensively and defensively. They've got the parts in place to make it happen. But again, it goes back to the C word. Can they do it consistently? That's kind of the MO for the Raiders. And that's what the MO has really been all season long. For Denver, to get their victory and improve to 3-2 overall on the season, what has to happen?
Well, I think number 1, they got to get Bo Nix going again. Number 2, like we just talked about, keep the pass rush heat on. And number 3, keep Javonte Williams rolling. And let's start kind of breaking it down there. Javonte, like I said, had been horrible dating back to last year. He was averaging 2.2 yards a carry going into last week's game against the New York Jets. Didn't look like himself. Didn't even look like, man, when Audric Estime gets activated off IR, are they even going to keep Javonte Williams? It was that bad. So to see him have a sort of re-breakout game after the knee injury in 2022, it was awesome for the Denver Broncos to see. So can you keep that going? And for Bo Nix, getting him going again, we saw against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, just hitting downfield shots, being accurate on the mid-range throws, getting rid of the ball quickly, making great decisions as a runner. And I think that's something that's really been key for him in getting that momentum as a passer, oddly enough, is really, hey, when you break the pocket, when you get out and you make a play with your legs, it kind of just feels like something just clicks with Bo, where he's able to kind of start getting a rhythm passing. So can they keep getting him going after the second half against the Jets, where he started to hit some downfield throws through his first touchdown pass of the season to Cortland Sutton? But really, this Denver Broncos team, I don't know that I can necessarily say after just 4 games, but live and die by the pass rush. I mean, these guys are getting after the quarterback, and they're forcing teams to have to throw a lot. You talked about that with the Raiders. Like, you don't want Gardner throwing 30 plus times in the game.
Right.
That's what the Broncos absolutely want him to do. So it plays perfectly the keys to victory on both sides, because Vance Joseph and that defensive front, they are knocking guys back every down. And they forced Breece Hall had 10 carries for 4 yards last week against the Jets. They have been dominating up front defensively. And so that's not to say that it can't change, though, in 1 week, because we've seen the Broncos get susceptible against Kenneth Walker and the Seahawks in week 1. They gave up a number of big chunk plays. They've had problems with penalties deep downfield. So there's things like that pop up every so often, but can you maintain that level of physicality and force the ball into Gardner's hands so that you can let that pass rush feast and let Vance Joseph keep on cooking up these different pass rush schemes that he's been doing? So it should be an exciting matchup on Sunday.
Yeah.
Q, I know these two teams, they're trying to keep pace right now with the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. The Chiefs, I mean, I said it jokingly earlier, but man, they just seem to find a way to win these games. It doesn't matter if it's 17 points against the Chargers or if they got to score 35 against whoever. They seem to be able to figure it out. So these two AFC West teams got to figure it out and get these wins early in the season to do what they can to keep pace in the division. And we'll find out more about the identity of both of these teams as they continue to go along. As Q's talking about, the Raiders seeking their identity on offense, the Broncos kind of trying to find any sort of groove that they can, buying into the Bo Nix experience. We will see what happens.